So we're back to Discord, but Dime is rocking an ultra wide and the streams are in 1080p. So I hope you guys can see the stuff on the screen because you guys see my stuff all the time. I'm gonna try to just roll my own, or let him roll his screens for the most part, because this may or may not be his last interview. That's what I've been told. Um, but as we start off everything, this is meant to be for educational purposes only. It is not meant to be used as financial advice. With that being said, Dime, if you can say hello and make sure they can hear you, it should be good to go.
It's all financial advice. He's lying to you. I'm kidding. Hi, how are you guys doing?
We're gonna have to edit that out.
Oh no.
Cool. It fits. I can hear you, Josh. Okay, cool. So you can actually read the stuff on the screen. That's awesome. And I apologize. He's like a gray user,
A gray maximalist.
gray maximalist. I
Sorry.
know. I know of two. Um,
Every time I went black, everyone was like, it's too dark. I don't like it." And then I went white, and they're like, "This is blinding me." So I settled on gray. This is not like a color that I super love, but it works for me.
that's cool. I mean, that's the other thing. I think you've got into it before, and you're like, it forces your eyes to look at certain things because you can lose paint or lose prints. I think on some things, but anywho, I'm gonna knock out some interview stuff, guys. If you know, this is like my first interview, so I'm probably gonna have some issues with it. But we're here to hang out. We're here to answer questions that you guys have. I have a lot of questions of my own, and I guess some background. Like I've been friends with Dime for a bit. I don't remember how we crossed paths on Twitter.
It was the trend spider indicator thing.
Yeah, it was.
Uh, yeah, I was asking if you wanted to
Yeah,
try.
we were friends before that
I don't think so.
though.
I think I found yours. I think you followed me, but I didn't have any idea who you were.
Ah, hey, we still don't. But
Nope.
anywho, I guess the first thing to let everybody know, who are you?
I'm CryptoParadyme on Twitter. I post the frog, and the frog makes me happy.
Second follow up question, who do you think you are? And with follow up, what gives you the right?
I was just born this way, man. I don't really I don't really have a say in the matter. I just kind of wake up every day and try not to lose all of my money on FTX or whichever exchange is currently going bust.
I will say this: if you avoided the FTX fiasco, um, chalk it up as a top 10 trade in your life because that was a that was a negative 100 for a lot of people, unfortunately. And
It was awful. I have friends that have lost hundreds of thousands, millions. Like it's an absolute disaster across the board. We're probably going to talk about it today because what else is there to talk about? Who wants to look at this terrible price action?
I do. Um, Another thing I've always been curious about, and I've never seen it referenced. Where did the name come from, Paradigm?
So I've been tweeting since like 2013 because I've been around for a while.
Wow.
And my original name was like I literally was a different life at this point, but it was I was very high at like 10 in the morning, got very baked, and I needed a Twitter username, and I was just like Holly Paradigm. That was my name when I first started. And like as time went on, I'm like, oh, this crypto thing is actually turning into something, and I changed it to Crypto Paradigm. And then obviously my brand like got some recognition over the years, and then I was like, well, it really sucks to force people to call me Crypto Paradigm. And then I was like, oh, I'll just make everyone call me Dime.
That's awesome. Because I was mentioning to my wife, I was like, yeah, we've got a really big interview tonight, and she's like, oh, what's his name? And I was like, Crypto Paradigm, and she shook her head back. I was like, damn, that's a really cool name. I was like, I like it too because I always call him Dime, and I just think that's a cool nickname. Because there's a lot of people called a lot of dumb things on the internet, but I think that's a cool one that stick. But following up with that, where did the caveman branding come from?
That was
All right.
Passy T. Passy T is so I had a an old profile picture that was kind of. I'll see if I can find it later. Toots and the Maytals, I think, is the band, and it was this guy sitting in a tree holding what looked like a bunch of like oranges or something in a bunch, and I had someone change it to bitcoins, like little orange bitcoins, and then someone at some point added like long blonde hair on top of it, and it was all just like a jumble of like Photoshop. Like it was like people just put it together for me, and I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. I'll rock that. And then Passy T came out of left field, and he's like he took the same design and basically like made it into a real thing. And it's from some video he did some time ago that was making fun of me, and I liked it and I ran with it. He's probably going to design a few more at some point. He's working on a video game for Crypto Twitter at the moment.
That's awesome. I never
Yeah, it's
knew
kind
any of that, and I remember seeing some of the. I remember the original one where it had like it holding the bunch of oranges, and then it more started going kind of going into more fantastic hair.
my hair looks like that in real life. I have very long blonde hair. It's getting to be a problem.
Yeah, especially if you're starting a new job, are you gonna have to cut it?
No, fuck no.
Work from home.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate the insight. That's actually really cool stories that aren't actually you
They're
know.
all out there, but like they fade into the Twitterverse over time. Like it's hard to go find them and dig them up.
I tried the other day uh to go back and find your dolphin photos and also the Shardy B ones, and I spent probably 10 minutes scrolling through your feed, and I think I made it back one day. It's like it's
That was
impossible to navigate.
Yeah, no. Also, I'm on private right now, so you can't even really search it. It's kind of weird. I can't even search my own tweets unless they happened like in the last week.
Really, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Hey, that's a good question too. Why did you go private? Because your
bots.
account's like blown up since then.
The bots. It's just the bots. As soon as Elon deals with them, I'm gonna go public again. But it's just like I'm tired of like having spam all over my replies and tired of like hiding them because I don't want people clicking on their links. I have enough eyeballs on my account. So really, the reality was I just wanted to stop the bots from getting in and replying.
Is it more of like they're actually impersonating you, or is it the general like crypto pump ones?
It's the crypto pump ones. It's like the hey, I can't believe no one's talking about this.
Yeah, that's what's so weird is I don't understand how they haven't been able to figure out a way to stop it, because it's there's these accounts that sit there and say virtually the same phrase every 2 seconds on multiple people's accounts. But I don't know. I really was hoping the Twitter Blue was gonna salvage it, because um, believe it or
It's
not,
still early.
Sailor had an idea. He's like, everyone should have to pay $10 to play on Twitter, and if you get banned as a bot, you never get access to the $10 again. But if you ever leave Twitter and you're real, you get your $10 back. And he's like, that's enough financial impact to keep people from like making thousands and thousands of Twitter accounts. And I was like, that's actually a pretty good idea considering he's pretty whack. But um,
Did you know
that's a
what? Did you
whole
know?
other dude.
Say Sailor blocked me.
How? He doesn't read the
I t-
feeds, does he?
he apparently does.
Wow.
I told him he was the worst thing to happen to Bitcoin towards the top, and he should sell before it's too late. And he blocked me over that. And as his liquidation price gets closer and closer, I look more and more vindicated. Now, if we reverse anytime in the next 6 months, he's going to look like a genius and not learn anything. But he's basically just gone into debt and pretending that he's the next coming of Jesus because of it. And I really just don't respect him in any way.
Um, I could talk for 2 hours about him. Um, but I will say this: he's how do I say this? He's done a lot of dumb things, right? But his basis for doing this balls deep debt, like up to his eyeballs, is right. Like, assuming Bitcoin survives, he's gonna make it. Now, the fact that he only turns on his bots during range highs, I have no freaking idea why he does that. But he DCA's super, super high for some damn reason. I don't know why he does it. It keeps him off the books a bit, I believe, because I know
Well,
we used to.
he's using Coinbase Prime, so whatever fills he's getting are probably a little delayed from when we actually find out about it, and also Coinbase Prime probably is fairly efficient with how they're filling his orders. That's that's just speculation on my part, but I'm pretty sure he has him custodied with Coinbase's institutional service.
He is on. In my theory is he is on Coinbase. I've spotted what I believe is his algorithm. I think probably like 3 to 5 times. Um, it makes the order book look really really funky.
I
Uh,
bet.
it's pretty aggressive, and there was a Tesla leak a few years ago, um, before Tesla announced that they had bought Bitcoin, and um, it was one of the engineers inside Tesla, and they talked about like the Python bot they built. And this is like a month after Saylor and Elon started talking, so I was like, okay, he's got his hands on Saylor's bot, part of that whole master plan thing. And the bot, I believe, runs on 3 minute candles, which is a psychopath thing, and it sits there and waits for like positive price action, and then when anything pulls back more than 1.5%, it hits it. And what's why what's really because so his whole intent is to be able to purchase Bitcoin with no one noticing and not pumping the price. He wants to enter and not move price, but the problem is he only turns the damn thing on range highs. So he does what he wants, but he does it before the pullback. So it's like clockwork. They'll announce that they bought Bitcoin, and then it'll pull back like um, 15-20%. It's pretty impressive, but because he could do the opposite. Like he could turn it on its head, and like he could turn on MicroStrategies to buy the dip, and they don't. So I've never fully
He
understood that part.
he could also be using an OTC service. I don't understand all of Coinbase Prime's features. I'm not rich enough to uh, have had to use that at any point. I think you need like minimum $1 million or something in that space. But like there's so many different ways to get filled, and Sailor doesn't seem to have done it the right way. But at this point, I don't really think about him. I don't care. He's just kind of like a clown, and maybe he'll be right someday, and maybe he's a genius, or maybe he gets liquidated at the bottom. I don't fucking know. I don't really fucking care.
The one thing I have seen though is because I've always been really really sketchy about the people that specialize as on chain um, analysis, and claim that you can actually trade off of it. I think a lot of the on chain stuff is really like cool and interesting, but it's not something I can trade off of.
Oh, you
Uh,
shouldn't. It's been wrong the whole time.
it's been wrong the
Like,
whole time, and in my opinion, whales know that they're visible on chain, so they will manipulate like what the hell they're doing. But the one thing
hmm
I've noticed is not a single on-chain analysis guy can point me to Sailor's wallets. And he tells you what ranges he bought, tells you what exchanges he bought, and no one can tell you where the hell is his wallets. Where are the MicroStrategy wallets? No one can point to him.
it's probably within Coinbase Prime, whatever their main wallet is. I don't know where that is, but they probably, for the sake of security, only have like one multi-sig wallet, um, and it probably has all of their big customer clients in there, and they move things in and out as needed. But obviously, Sailor hasn't moved anything out, so we've never seen anything that's the same size. So we would have never been able to identify his coins at any point.
Yeah.
It just all goes into that one wallet.
I'm actually kind of shocked. I've always thought there would have been some way he would have pulled it into cold storage and get it off of Coinbase's, but he must have done his due diligence on them. And I
I
mean,
mean, really think about that. Do you really want to like hold billions of dollars, just you, yourself, and Sailor, uh, on your own solo? I mean, that puts a huge target on your back versus keeping it like with Coinbase. It's themselves. Like it's a security thing, and I'm sure his company would not allow him to like be using a Trezor or whatever method they're using it. Whoever's holding his coins is probably a little bit more advanced.
I would
Like
say
I wouldn't put however many billions of dollars he has on a fucking Trezor. Like there's so many better ways.
no, I hear you, but the thing is that dude could have chose FTX US in the beginning of this, and he'd be done, right? Like there's that's the solo entity. At least if you did multiple hard wallets and spread it along. But then you're right. It's like those dudes are going to get kidnapped and they're going to get tortured until they divulge how to unlock those treasures, right?
Yep.
So I don't know, and that's We'll see. I'll be interested if he transfers over to Fidelity when that comes online.
I don't think he needs to, but it's whatever.
Yeah,
It's his choice. He can do whatever he wants.
I'm surprised. I like the memes a lot. It's it's
The sailor memes.
I love the one. My favorite one was it was MicroStrategies has successfully auctioned off all of their office furniture and they have bought zero point 0.5 Bitcoin.
That's funny.
He'll
Yeah,
leverage
when
any
he
or get everything because he's
the
partially
mo-
leveraged.
he's very leveraged. The uh the one where he was take all go into debt, buy Bitcoin, mortgage your house,
Yeah,
basically telling everyone to sell everything that isn't nailed down at pretty much at the top was just sad in hindsight. Like it's a disaster.
yeah. There was one. There was a parody. I remember there was a parody at that time, and it was rip the copper out of your house, pawn it, and go buy more Bitcoin. But we'll move off him. Uh, the first question that came to mind is, where did you discover VWAP, and how did you become so basically the VWAP king, in my opinion?
Oh, sure. Well, it wasn't really available on TradingView for the longest time. There were some like one-off indicators, but I always saw my friends using it, and it took me the longest time to actually like start finding VWAP indicators that worked. And it wasn't until like end of 2020 that TradingView added an anchored VWAP over here. Like I'm just picking one randomly, but they eventually did, and they did it. TrendSpider did it first, and I started using TrendSpider. TradingView suddenly realized, oh, we actually need to like you put more indicators on the site. People actually want this anchored VWAP thing, and from there it gained much more notoriety. I was a little ahead of the curve on that, but it started taking off pretty much once TrendSpider added it, and then TradingView followed.
I think I think in general, TradingView got lazy, and we weren't seeing many updates at all. And then Dan started rocking and rolling, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to see TradingView updates that they haven't done in years.
Yep,
It's
I because they were pretty much it was them and Sierra Trades, and Sierra Trades is kind of a different beast than TradingView. But once TrendSpider started to kind of up the ante a little bit with some of the indicators and ways of displaying data, TradingView definitely kind of perked up and was like, "Oh, let's add some more things," and they did, and I'm grateful.
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's awesome, and I need to thank you, I guess, publicly, like introducing me to Dan. That's been an awesome relationship, and um, you don't know how bullish I am on TrendSpider. I butt heads with it a little bit because I haven't used it forever, but I'm getting better at it, and eventually I'm going to start trying to program for it. It's a different coding language altogether, so I've got to convert a bunch of stuff. And in the chat, if you didn't know, I just dropped the links. Not a sponsor, not an affiliate. I don't make a dime off this. I don't make a penny off this. Um, but TrendSpider has given our Rainbow Trend guys a lifetime discount because I gave up the affiliate code kickbacks and gave it back to you guys. So if you use our link in that I just put in the chat and use the code Rainbow45, you guys will get the deepest permanent discount on the market. And you can also try it for free, risk free, 2 weeks instead of the normal free trial. So it's pretty complicated. It does some really cool stuff, and I am going to nudge Dime to use TrendSpider during the stream because he's way better at it than me. But um, that CEO behind the desk pushing this stuff, these dudes are going to take over the market, in my opinion, and I'm really going to have to catch up. And as much as I don't want to learn JavaScript, it looks like I'm going to have to because I really want to offer some tools over there as well. And all the current Rainbow Trend stuff is in PineScript.
TrendSpider is very cool. They're still a little firm and clunky to use. Like I love all the features they have, but they've only recently added features. And I've made like I'm not trying to like grieve them or anything. I've made every criticism I have to Dan, their CEO, and like made it clear, like, yeah, this, and this. And sometimes they're a year or two away from like replacing TradingView for people. I think like it's so many good features, so many cool ways to visualize data, but they it's not as smooth as TradingView yet. It's getting there, but it like I still have to edit my watch list. Where is it? I have to come on. In order to like add or remove things from the watch list, you have to like do a text edit, and I don't even remember how to do it offhandedly. I don't know. I don't remember how to do it. It's been a while. But yeah, it's still a text edit in order to like change anything on TradingView. But otherwise, like volume by price, I love this thing. This is like one of my favorites. Let me do a little. I can probably find an example of how I use this. There we go. So I love like anchoring to little specific points. Like the last low we had came into the local VWAP, huge volume shelf here. We obviously rejected from the point of control for this is actually about the same one as November's, but I love using these volume shelves, especially in bull markets, because price will move back down into them and you can start bidding and bidding and bidding, and it usually goes back up. I did this a lot during the up only times last year,
That's awesome.
all the way like back here. Yeah, but volume by price, they're starting to add more indicators. Some of the stuff is kind of like more experimental, like the heat map. Like I don't really see if I can even turn it on. There it is. Like I don't really know how to use this. Like it looks kind of cool, and it's like there's definitely something here, but I don't know how to make use of it.
So
And
go back to the heat map options, because it's so go to trends, go to horizontal. The horizontal one's awesome. That is the one thing I did pick up. Yeah.
oh, that's cool.
So those really line up with my rainbow trend pivots, and they are killer support and resistance. If you use it on like Ethereum and stuff on like the 4 hour, it's pretty gnarly. And it's according to Dan, that thing right there is extremely secret sauce. So they won't tell me like how it's coded, because that's like my thing is like, since I make tools and stuff, like I see something that's got really good confluence, and I'm straight up like, what the hell is like, how is this working? And it's like tight-lipped. Yeah, Playmaker, to your question, if you hop on with TrendSpider, that's their tools. It's not something I wrote, but it's just the heat maps. If you put them on horizontal, but I played with that a bit on Ethereum, and it was like lining up with like what TraderMade was doing, and I was like, hell, this is. I really wish I knew what this was, because that's one thing. It's just like, if I know how it's programmed, like I can trust it really quick. Otherwise, I got to sit there and kind of play with it, and get a feel per se. Stream is getting a little blurry. It'll probably come back.
I see that. I'm gonna go back to TradingView for now.
Okay, cool. But that's awesome. And I guess the backup question to that is, I'm assuming it was Altcoin Psycho, but that's where the first place I ever saw VWAP. I was curious who showed it to you first, but
I think it was Red XBT or someone. I really don't remember. It was like 4 years ago at this point. I just kept seeing it around trading or around the Twitter sphere, and I didn't know how to use it or how to get access to it, because there's people that have like rolling VWAPs and they have like custom scripts on Trading Light and things like that. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to get access to it, and I finally got access via TrendSpider and TradingView adding it, and I did find a more custom script. It's this one, the multi-time frame VWAP. This one's currently glitched because I usually keep them as like flat lines, but they keep defaulting to these dots. But I will usually like turn them on. Literally every time I turn it on, I have to do this. It's awful. I haven't found something that's as good to replace it yet.
after the stream, because I can see that it's open source. That's an editable one. Shoot it my way, and I'll hook you up. I'll reset all the defaults. Like, shoot it to me, and I will modify it to your preference, and it'll stay like that.
Cool.
And
I keep
if anybody wants a dime specific VWAP tool, I'll drop it for free. You guys can all have it. And I guess that's kind of if you guys don't know, like I've got some free tools, I've got some premium tools. If I can knock out a trading tool over a weekend, I pretty much will make it free. The other ones take like weeks and months and years, so those ones are premium. But if like our VWAP, our reversion rainbow is like one of our most popular, most used tools, but it took me 2 days to do it, so we've kept it free. But yeah, I'll take a look at that. That'll be awesome, and that's cool. The history of it.
I mean, that's just me finding it. It's not really the history of the VWAP. It's been around for ages. It's just it didn't really make it out of institutional hands for a long time.
Now, to be clear, I'm not the only one in here that considers you the VWAP king. So no, it is the history of where did you discover this, and it's cool to see how long you've been with it, right? Because it's one thing is like you've stared at something so long, you start seeing like you start to get subtle reads that other people don't.
It was my bread and butter last year. Like this is one I was particularly proud of. So I'm gonna assume you guys didn't follow me last year, but basically I said here something like this. I think I was going for the Livermore accumulation cylinder. That's kind of what we got. I basically like every time this is bouncing every single time, it's only going higher, and then we went vertical. But the thing that was really cool regarding VWAPs is I kind of discovered like my entire edge for the year. So do you remember this candle? Do you remember what this was?
Hold
It was a
on one
news.
sec.
It was a news item.
Let me check. Hold on. Sorry, I had to walk away from the screen for a split second. I got a 4-year-old or 3-year-old who's not waking up. Which can't point to it?
This one right here, the big wick, the one where we broke out of this range. It's okay if you don't remember, but it was the vaccine day. It was the day that they announced that, oh, we have a vaccine. And it was at the time, I think, one of the highest volume candles that we had. If you look down here, it was. So I anchored right here. Actually, let me reset my
You're
settings
telling
here.
me you're running vaccine VWAPs?
High volume days.
That's crazy. No, so I've anchored a lot of stuff to the COVID capitulation, Black Swan. I never put that 2 and 2 together, but now that you've mentioned it, I do remember when was it Pfizer who had the first one out the gate? I think it
I
was
don't remember.
Pfizer or Moderna. I remember the stocks went kaboom, and it shot a wick. I'm actually really interested that you mentioned a Livermore accumulation cylinder because that's something I'm starting to play with.
It only shows up once in a blue moon, but we went vertical, and I was like, this is going to break up and out, and it did. It obviously went very well. But what this started was it was me looking for high volume, and as the year went on, I basically went super left of the curve. And I started like anchoring to like major lows, and then obviously goodbye here, and then it stops touching. Then I just reset and look for the last previous low. Like the price action last year was super predictable. Obviously, it was just one trend, one direction, only up. And eventually, I just started like going into a point where I would just anchor to each swing high low, like right here. Look at that, bam, bam. Like I could stay long for this entire point, taking profits along the way, and bam, it hits it again, and that was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful until we got to the end of the year and everything stopped working and it was all down only, and it was a mess. But point was, like, every like 2 or 3 weeks or so the VWAP would reset to like it would stop touching the new VWAP that I had set, so I would have to like move it up to a new point, and of course obviously you could do that in reverse because there were plenty of opportunities to like really put this backwards. It really helps if you invert your chart sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, I traded this absolutely awful this whole year. Like, it was a mess. But basically, every time we dipped over the yearly VWAP, pumped over the yearly VWAP, it was bad news for bulls. We had a bad time.
So in the moment of the top, when this quit working, where you did your spidey senses turn on and you noticed that something has shifted?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, by the time like I was really on the oh fuck, the Fed is hiking everything, we were already down here. Like I've never traded a Fed hike cycle before. None of us have really. The last time the Fed was crazy like this was like the 1970s or so. It really was just I was a genius from like about here to here, and then I started being an idiot all year. So, I mean, I had a good run, but VWAPs I've found are not working that well in a bear market so much. They work very well in bull markets, but obviously it always depends on like how and where you place it. Um, ultimately, they're a tool that you have to figure out what works for you.
That's awesome insight. And the I will say this is the 4200s where I got out, and I haven't re-entered into the stock market yet. Um, I think I'm coming up on like 14, 15 months of holding out. Um, and I'm really questioning if we're bottomed here, but I will say this: if you go back into that chart, the last major pullback before the absolute all-time high, that's what got me. Um, two more over.
This right here.
The one right
Or-
before the bigger trough left a
Oh,
little more.
this one.
Yeah, that's what got me. Um, I remember I started getting some signals on like the rainbow stuff, and it was like it was showing some weaknesses, but like we were going crazy, and I was like, and then people in the Discord were option trading lumber and scalping it. And remember when like lumber started going absolutely parabolic, like a Doge chart?
Yeah.
That shook me out of my funk, and the light bulb came on, and I said to myself, this cannot be sustained. And I called Fidelity the very next day, told them I want everything cut to cash. Um, they were very, very upset with me, and were like trying to lean on me and like telling me like how dumb this fucking is. And I was like, no, cut it. And I haven't walked away yet, but I'm kind of getting scared because 4200 is kind of close to 4000 right now, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I was gonna say like you've been like the king for calling this midterm pump, and I've been waiting for it, and because I was like, man, it started getting really, really bad. Like when I was really, we were looking at like 38s, 36s. I was like, man, I don't know if this election's gonna pull this out. And then the Russia war stuff just kept getting nastier. Um,
I was actually short this week, but I'll qualify that with like some more details. So, right, I've been leaning on volume profiles pretty heavily this quarter or during this down movement because price always reacts to them. But I was looking at the November point of control right here, and I was short from like here. And we got down here, and I'm like, okay, well, if CPI is really bullish, this is gonna absolutely squeeze up to here. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. But CPI has to be bullish. And so I bought some lottos here, and thankfully the lottos outperformed my losses on the puts, and I closed the puts at open right about here and let the lottos run a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the bottom. I really don't. The market seems to be starting to be a little bit more optimistic, but ultimately, and I'm going to show you something really cool in a second here. I'll be. The thing is, I think a lot of people are waiting for this breakout, something like that. But based on where Dixie is, I feel like we could easily do that following it.
so that's
Um,
what's been driving me nuts. Is Dixie's been going parabolic for 11 months now, 12 months now.
I
I
think
think it's
there is a
11.
solid chance that the top is in on Dixie. I'm going to show you something real cool. Like I was pretty jazzed. Like I didn't think we were going to go this deep,
I didn't
but
either.
oh my god, we did. So something I'm starting to realize with markets, and like I'm sure I'm not the first one that notices this. Sorry. We really like to clean up points of control that have never been tested. So I said like right here at the quarterly point of control, I was like Dixie's probably topping here, and I also did tweet like macro 886 Fibonacci level. Like that was huge. Like I was like, I don't know if that's the top, but like it's something. And once we started like going down, putting in lower highs, another lower high, I was like, this is probably gonna nuke. And I was basically working with the wedge formation, and I was like, okay, probably time to maybe get a little bearish, but nope, we just went straight down. But note that we came down right to the third quarter point of control, and I mean, I don't want to long equities right here, obviously, but I think that it's likely that Dixie bounces over the next week or so, and for all I know, maybe we're just going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, and then clean up this. This is Q3, so this would be Q2 POC right here. And I find these really interesting because they react more in real time. Like they're fixed points of volume, both on buyers and sellers, where they want to get involved. That they're just objective points of action that people use, and I find it really cool. And they work like on all kinds of assets. Like you can see here on silver, we pushed into the Q2 POC, like bam, like right there. One of the things that also kind of made me was leaning bullish is just for metals and bearish on the dollar in general. On the 12-month PVP, we saw, first of all, price wicked right up into the 2021 point of control right here before falling. It looks a little bit better on the weekly chart. You can see it was definitely a level of interest. And then down here we came and we wicked right into the 2020 point of control. That was just wild to me. But to boot, we had the 2022 point of control start to shift. And the point of control, for those of you who don't know, it's where the most volume occurs within a certain period. And this was the area. And seeing the volume shift from down here to like up in this region told me something was going to probably happen down here. Cleaning up the POC was definitely like a good level. And obviously, we're going to see if this keeps going. I don't trade silver, I just hold it, but it's still fun to chart it and trade it. Or, sorry, chart it and observe it.
That's
Sorry, that was
amazing.
a little
No,
long-winded,
no,
but
no, no. So like some back history here is like I I spent a year studying footprint traders, and for the life of me, I think Ape Trade is legit, but I don't understand what the hell he's saying.
neither.
I've studied everything about it, and I've watched this stuff, and like I even reached out to some other dudes. Like I took a look at I studied a pay group like 2 years ago. I was like, I'm gonna go see what these guys are about because it sounds legit. Let me go see what I can learn.
It
And
the
I was with the group for a bit, and they had like 8 mod traders that would post like calls and stuff, and one of them was a footprint trader. And I kept asking the guy like questions because I was like, "What the hell is he saying? He's posting these footprint charts." And eventually he broke with me. He's like, "Dude, I just do it because it looks cool." And I go, "Son of a bitch!" Like I was like, "What? What?" And then I was like, "Okay." I just wasted some months. I exited the group like a month later, and then 2 months later, Zach XBT rolled in and exposed them all. And I was like, "Okay, yeah," because this makes their calls made no sense. And I was like, uh,
Print
I can't.
trading is a complicated thing, and I've tried it myself, and I can't wrap my head around it. It seems to only be particularly useful for shorter term traders like scalpers, because it's much harder to like discern like how a broad market is going to move versus the next candle.
Yeah,
Because obviously there's been people buying Bitcoin this whole time, for example, and obviously they've all been getting rolled over. But it really just it wasn't my style, and the documentation on uh, footprint charts, they're sparse and few and far between, and it's hard to tell like which ones are actually quality and which ones are not. And a lot of them are hidden behind paywalls, and it's like I don't want to spend 5 years looking for the right information on footprints. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't like it.
yeah.
But
I've read all the Abe Trade write-ups. I've studied his stuff, and I was like, for the life of me, my bullshit meter doesn't go off. Like he seems very very intelligent. He seems legit and has a read. I just can't make any sense of it, and it's
it
like it's
it's
bothers me because it's like it looks real, it fat sounds real, it feels real. I can't crack it.
it's not for everyone. Don't
Yeah,
sweat it.
it looks so
But
cool though.
the thing this is more of a volume profile and not like a footprint so much. A volume
For
profile
sure.
like shows you specifically where people are getting in, and the TPO charts as well. But I thought you'd find this cool. I had this. Hang on, can I undo this? So the yearly point of control here, you can see boink. That was our 48K top.
That's crazy.
reverse. And so like the same thing that we've been seeing in other assets is we like to clean up by clean up I mean touch usually quarterly levels that have never been touched before. You can see down here on Bitcoin the 2020 quarter one point of control was like it eventually formed a bottom, and when the weekly started actually closing above it we moved up. And then not sure if this is only on FTX perp. But anyway, my next guess is this level is probably going to be our bottom. If we're not already bottomed, I'm hoping we are. But if we get one more contagion nuke, this is probably going to be the next level of interest. I saw a really, really good one on NQ today. This is absolutely crazy. So these lines, by the way, once the quarter closes, these are static until they get touched again. And you can see here we nuked down into this one, this particular quarter, and again came down over here, bounced a little bit, and attempted to bounce here, but we didn't. But the real move here was like if you had just waited until NQ hit 10.6, like right here, we literally wicked into the Q. What was it? Q2, Q3, Q3 2020, absolute peak of bottom. So whatever happens next with NQ, if we end up breaking up and going down, I think that this region here is probably going to be our next bottom. That's just my guess.
What
But
number
if
is
he
that?
really just short of like 10k, it's like 99
A
something.
9.
But check this out over here in the corner. 2020 bottom was the, let's see,
That's COVID nuke.
2019 point. No, this is the COVID nuke bottom.
Yeah.
Over here was the trade war, but the 2019 point of control was the Pico bottom for the COVID nuke. And I think this is crazy because it's just like these invisible levels that people don't really think to check. And the chart obviously likes to keep touching them in one form or another. You don't always get a reaction. You got to use other technical analysis and TA to like make a decision, but like for the most part, these larger macro levels are absolutely crazy. And this is free on TradingView, by the way. It's the PVP indicator. If you guys want to try it, it is what it is. Do it or don't. I don't care.
That's amazing. This is your. So, I assume you know who he is, but I don't know if you ever talked to Mr. Chonky.
Yeah, he
He.
leaves me love letters and gay jokes all over my feed. I've had to boot him a few times because it's getting annoying.
So I have you ever figured out that he's actually like a ungodly quant?
Uh,
He's
Probably is, but he stopped like when I was getting started. He was someone I looked up to a lot for information, and then he just kind of started being gay all the time. So I stopped kind of paying attention to him.
he's
Nothing
goofy.
personal. He's
Uh,
goofy. He's super goofy.
he's super goofy, but he's like I've hit this wall on programming stuff, and like I cannot crack it, and uh, I will DM Mr. Chonky, reassure him that I'm not a Fed, and he'll break character and show me how to fix like Pine script stuff. But he day trades single prints, and his single print stuff looks like this, where it's got he finds the identifies the single print, and it'll wash it across the screen until it gets revisited, and he day trades that and scalps the crap out of it, and like apparently does well and just doesn't really talk about it too much. But like besides all the shenanigans and the shit posting, it's there's a gnarly computer programmer behind the scenes that's way deeper than me.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's talented. It's just the only thing he shows me is silly jokes, and I got tired of
Oh yeah, I hear you.
him him doing that. That's all.
Yeah, I have to. It's like I have to when I talk about him and when I talk about Tetranode, I have to do like disclaimers. Like you guys got to realize like there's stuff there, but it's sprinkled in a mess. Like there's very few breadcrumbs, but the breadcrumbs are really nice. But like you're gonna dig through some shit. But no, it's cool. That's really cool how you show the footprint stuff because the point of control stuff too is I do have some Degen Rainbow traders that scalp really low time frame stuff, and they set up stuff just like that, but it's based off the pivots. Um,
Cool.
it's pretty interesting what they do. And I've been studying them for a
'Cause-
bit because I don't know what like I like swings. I don't like the scalps that they do, and it makes me uncomfortable as hell. But he'll tell you like, hey, this pivot's gonna get retouched again. Why? Well, it's Sunday, and then this comes in through Tuesday, and it'll hit. It'll hit.
Here's another. I had Spaceman BTC write this up for me.
He's so cool.
Yeah, I love Spaceman. He's a nice guy. Um, but I trying to think of a good example. Oh, Costco. This was great.
I love trading Costco. The rainbow trends on 4 hour on Costco prints.
So these are VWAP closes, the white lines, the flat ones, the dotted ones. They mark out whatever price the previous years or whichever period you're using, what price it closes at. And the low for this year was literally the 2021 VWAP close, which I just thought was absolutely bonkers. They do work on lower time frames as well, like for weekly VWAPs and stuff like that, but really kind of a cool tool that's not
I've
really
never
talked
seen
about
that.
that often. Yeah, and then here's ES.
Is that
Not
available?
as I think it's free. I think it's public. It's literally called Space Dime.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I might do a simple write up about like your toolkit and post a bunch of links and stuff. And
I don't use all of these all the time, but I'm mostly just kind of like looking at divergences and how sentiment, especially, um, really just kind of trying to. Oh wow, we broke right through it. Trying to see what does and doesn't work. Some things work on some days, like right here, that VWAP close, absolutely perfect. The rest of the time, not really so much to work with. It's hit or miss, but there's some assets that it tends to work better on than others. I think pretty sure I had the same thing on Bitcoin. I think there was one monthly one that was really working a while back. Yeah, there was a couple here. This one here was good. This one here was good. This one in particular, like it literally would not go above it. These are all individual months. So it is what it is, but you ultimately have to find out what works for you the best.
that's
Hello? Did
awesome.
I lose you?
No,
Oh,
no, no, we're good. We're good. Sorry, I have to occasionally do a run to try to get my 4 year old who's not going down, but I'm trying to get him to. Uh, no, that is so cool how you do that, and to the point is like nothing's perfect, and I tell a lot of people this. It's like because they'll ask me like specifics, like, hey, what's the super secret settings for like the rainbow trend stuff? I was like, guys, I run the defaults, I really do. It's like find your tools, find your whales, find your paints, and you'll eventually get like in tune with like what you're seeing. And it's like that indicator right there, like you were saying, like it doesn't work all the time, but it will like put you on high alert, like, hey, you're at a level that's got a really really good chance of happening right here. It kind of gives you a heads up. That's really awesome.
a lot of.
Catching or go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's just say catch up on chat. Doppel, I'm always Adensaya, but this is the only guy who's. I think there's only one or two people that have ever defeated Adensaya, at least in a kickboxing match in his weight class, but definitely there. Who is Chonky's alt? I half suspect Chonky is a foo alt, but I can't get confirm
I
or
don't think
deny
he
that.
is. I
I
don't
don't
think he
think he
is.
is, but they will say some stuff that's really aligned and funny. What was the other one? You talked on Twitter about buying stuff on FTX's liquidation auctions. Where do they happen? I'm kind of clueless, dude. Dime and I were literally talking about like trying to buy the bean bags, like not,
That was a
not.
joke. I don't want the semen stained bean bags, please. No, thank you.
I blacklight auction is all I'm gonna say. I do want some FTX swag. I'm probably gonna buy some hoodies to be honest because I've been trying to find an Ether Delta hoodie for a while and I have not been able to find one. But
Uh, yeah. I mean, do whatever you want.
we'll get into FTX in a bit because that's gonna go a while. Oh, cool. Stacks is in here. Um, you mentioned lottery tickets.
Me?
Yes, you bought some lotteries on the S&P 500. I'm assuming you're
Oh,
referring to
yeah,
option
yeah, yeah,
trading.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, what I was saying is last week I had that short and I wrote it from here to here, and right this is market close for that day, and I bought some lotto calls for I think 378. Yeah, 378. There, then they expired in 2 days, and It was basically like, just in case I was wrong. If CPI was bad, we were just gonna. My original target was like down here, but if CPI was bullish, I wanted to be hedged, and it was obviously the right call. So I bought something that expired 2 days later, and I think they went from like $2 a contract to 13 or 14. I got out near open, but I was still very glad that I hedged my short.
That is awesome, and that's what I wanted to walk you back to that because that is one of the questions from the I guess Rainbow Crew. Um, what are the option tools that you use? Some of the I don't do options at all. It's something I kind of watch what you guys talk about, especially like you. Um, there's a low tier guy Grant that not a lot of people know about, and then Altcoin Psycho has some reads on it. So does Crypto ISO, but they were asking about like your dark pools, your cheddar, stuff like that. But I'm not real familiar with that. But I'm going to name drop it and see where you run with it.
Okay. So obviously, like the cheap and free ways, like if you're on Thinkorswim or something like that, they usually have time and sales for various options if you're on there. That's just going to show you the raw flow. You don't really have a ton of filtering options with it. Option two is like what I'm using here. If you guys want to try this, by the way, there is a week-long free trial, and I think it's code DIME03 will get you 25% off. I didn't intend to shill it, but like here I am. This is basically Cheddar Flow. It is currently getting close to a new update. I can't really talk about it, but they are alpha testing at the moment. They're going to be adding a couple new features, but in general, so this isn't my platform. I don't work on it. I just work with them, and it basically allows you like a kind of a more fluid methodology of filtering and adding new ways to look at the market. Let's see if I can find SPY or something. So it's a lot of noise. Like you're not going to be able to immediately read this and know what's going on. It takes quite a while to like start to really take a look at it. It's not necessary for trading. Usually, if your TA is solid, you can like see uh, what moves you want to be following. But sometimes there's like a news based day, and you'll see someone like ape a $4 million call when everyone else is bearish, and you're like, what does he know? Um, Sometimes the flows are completely wrong, but you can use all kinds of interesting filters, like looking for opening orders where the volume eclipses the current open interest. That usually tends to mean that it's a positional play and not a someone hedging or selling. But there's all kinds of other different filters. You can specifically look at different biotechs. You can filter for only options that have a certain delta. It really is like it's kind of a this is the platform, figure out what works for you kind of situation. But there's plenty of objective ways to look at it and kind of just look for plays and ideas. Particularly, like especially on earnings days, you'll sometimes see something. I remember before the Twitter deal dropped, someone bought like 2 week out options, like in the amount of $4 or $5 million that were they were like up at $60, and I'm pretty sure they went up like 1,000% or something. There's always those weird one-off ones that always look good in hindsight, but you see it in real time, and it's like I have no idea what this person's doing. But ultimately, it's a kind of a useful tool if you're a directional option trader to see like where the market is kind of starting to position. Um, but it does take some time, and you need some kind of TA to back it up because there's always someone buying something at some price. You can't just follow dumb apes on the tape because you'll get wrecked that way. But ultimately, it's up to you.
So I remember recently, Crypto ISO. Shout out to ISO. He's a friend. And I guess Altcoin Psycho. He's a friend too. They started talking about the J.P. Morgan collar trade recently when the S&P really started pulling down, and I didn't understand what they were saying. But it was interesting to see them sitting there barking back and forth, and they were showing screenshots of what you're showing now on the S&P.
JMA joined the party. Um,
He
Sorry,
says you're
JMA
a
is a friend
friend.
of mine. Yeah. We talk all the time. But yeah, I mean, Shutterflow is it's a really solid platform. It has a few things that I want them to update and change, but that they're working on their new update, and that's all I can just wait for now.
That's cool. They work with you, and that's been like one of the coolest things about TrendSpider. And like I've just been like super honest with Dan. This takes me one click on TradingView, and I've spent 10 minutes trying to figure this out. And I was like, it's not um, just a friend. I invited you to my wedding, Dime.
It's fake news.
Fake news. Fake
Yep.
news. Got lost in the mail. But it's cool as he's like he'll just like Dan will to look at it and like message me. He's like, all right, we're on it, and like I'll see an update like a week later. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, Dan's really good about fixing stuff that like have a quick, easy fix. Obviously, like changing bigger things on the whole website is a whole different ball game, but
Yeah,
um, that's just really what it is.
that's cool though. Um, the other thing we touched on it a little bit, and we'll come back to it. You are a silver maxi. What is the
Hmm.
history and story behind that one? Because you said you don't trade it, but you chart it and you store it uh, somewhere. I don't want to go anywhere past that.
That's fair. I mean, I started buying silver like down in this area, and I pretty much like that's where I bought most of my silver. I think I bought like another 400 or 500 ounces like right here,
Is
like
there
at
a
the
reason
lows.
that you started to look for it, or is it something you'd always wanted as like a hedge? Or
Well, I was like just getting started in my investing journey, like back here in 2014, 2015, 2016, like that was like kind of where I was starting to like play with it. And someone at my office when I was still working was like, "You love silver, hold on to it until it goes parabolic once every 10 or 15 years, and then get out." So I've been holding it for a while and kind of thought that this was going to end up being more like 2011 or so, but that didn't obviously happen. I love how the silver squeeze movement literally started at the top here. Um, but it really, it's such a historically undervalued metal. I mean, there's more and more supply every year, but there's also like the production is starting to slow down. We're running out of places to mine for it. It is one of the best electrical conductors on the planet. There's just it is also very satisfying to hold. I don't know if you've ever held a 100 ounce silver bar in your hand before. It's like when I finally got that for the first time, I was like, this feels important. Like I don't know why, but it feels important. So I just started collecting it over the years, and then it kind of like turned into like more of an obsessive collection, and now it's just kind of a meme on Twitter, unfortunately. But at some point, someday, I think this is probably going to go up to the 50s. Like it's so undervalued relative to gold and other metals. It's pretty much the only metal that hasn't had some kind of amazing run, and it's really just kind of a joke at this point. But I also just don't want to sell it yet until it's like truly worth piling it out of storage, loading it onto a truck, and like going to liquidate it and paying taxes on it. Like it's just one of those things that I hold on to until it's actually truly time to sell it.
so if someone wants to go say, I want to buy a 100 ounce bar, how do you even go about that? I've never even seen it for sale, other than I see these wonky Ben Shapiro ads that talk about buying silver, but even then it's like an emailed version of getting silver. You never actually get to put your hands on it.
Yeah, and that's like keeping all of your Bitcoin on Coinbase. It's not your it's if it's not in your hands, it's not yours. But there's like various dealers like JM Bullion or SD Bullion. You can also usually find a local shop. Not all of them are going to have a 100 ounce bar, but you can find it on the internet. Just I suggest buying the boring premium ones, whatever it is, whether it's like bars, coins, whatever. Just your goal is always to pay as little premium as possible.
So that being said, the other thing is like you mentioned paying taxes. I'm assuming like if you buy a 100 ounce bar, like you have to dox
Um,
and it gets registered with
I
like the
mean,
IRS or
I'm no, doesn't no, nothing like that. But if you collect like 1,000 ounces of silver over like 5 years,
Pelosi
like if
knows.
you like you and you go into a store that buys and sells silver, if it gets over like I think $9,000 or something, then they have to like fill out a tax receipt or whatever it is. I've never had to do it, so I don't know. But if you're selling a significant amount, it's going to get reported.
Okay, so it's something I was just curious in general if like because it's like I'm used to filing trading taxes. I didn't know if that was like physically like something like that because um,
If
that's a
it still counts as a capital gain. Like if you
uh,
realize massive gains on it, you got to pay for it. But no one's really realizing massive gains on it, so we're still some time away. I'm hoping that this is some kind of reaccumulation range here, but there's not enough information. All I know for now is we're pushing into the third quarter point of control right here. Actually, second quarter point of control, and it's kind of like a textbook resistance test. So I kind of feel like we're going to go sideways for a little longer, especially if the dollar pumps a little bit from where it is. But maybe it's going to go that way. We'll find out.
what do you think about the DXY going parabolic and metals not, or not
Um,
DXY, but like inflation especially? Like, there's an argument. It's like inflation's like going through the roof. Why is gold not going parabolic?
so gold is it's a weird asset, and it stands to reason that like most people think like, oh, gold eventually goes up all the time, and obviously given the last like 3 months it doesn't, or 8 months even. um it is interest rate sensitive, and basically when yields are zero, as they have been for like this entire period here, the price goes up. But when rates are going up, gold tends to go the other way. So the way I kind of look at it is gold and silver and everything else, all the other metals and whatnot, they kind of front ran the inflation that we ran into the last 2 years or so. So like most of their moves were done by 2020, but most of the meat of the move was there. And by the time everyone's talking about inflation over here, it's too late and it goes down. It, I don't know the like deeper economic reasons, but on a really left side of the curve, it's just rates go up, metals go down, and as long as the rates keep going up, metals will probably keep going down.
That is so interesting. Because I can't, like um, people ask me about metals, and I just tell them flat out like I don't have a natural sixth sense with it yet. I don't think I ever will, because it's not very volatile at all.
No,
Um,
it's something that's just kind of meant to like safeguard. I think in Silico on Twitter said it best. Like gold is for uh, keeping staying rich once you get rich. Because I mean,
that's
even if
really
you
good.
bought the top on gold here and just like continually added, like it's not that volatile. Like even if you Pico entered if you entered the Pico bottom, sorry, like that's 100% gain. Like, and that's not much considering what SPY and everything else has been doing. Like it's pretty good for 4 years, I guess, but for most of that time it's very slow. It doesn't do much, but it also doesn't go down a lot. Like on a long enough time frame, it doesn't go down. It has pullbacks, but it doesn't go down.
You're not
If
gonna
that
pull an
makes sense.
Amazon 80% pull.
No, absolutely not. But if you're sitting on like 5, 10, $20 million or some ridiculously significant amount of money, like there's value in having some money in precious metals simply because it will front run inflationary times and it does tend to appreciate in value. But it could be a decade. Like obviously this is like 2002 to 2010. It went from $200 to 2000. Like that's a 10x right there. But like it's not always this easy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's super cool. I've never looked at interest rates pushing metals, but now that you said it, that actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I didn't really know that until like recently either, but it is what it is.
Does Jerome have metals on his book?
I'm pretty sure that the federal government, I don't know about the Fed, they own metals, Fort Knox, et cetera, et cetera. They own buy metals. Russia buys metals. Everyone around the world pretty much has metals, even the governments. And of course, there's like the jewelry markets and whatnot. But like people own metals. It's just part of human life, and governments have been holding them since the dawn of governments.
That's good. That's yeah.
Fort Knox is probably empty. It has not been audited in a very long time. But
They need
that
to
was
let
just
Ron
like,
Paul do it just before he dies for his birthday or something.
Yeah.
What do you think of platinum?
I haven't looked at it in a while. I think I have like one little platinum coin somewhere. Hmm. It's pretty much the same place I left it. Here, I've had this long volume profile up on it. I mean, it didn't really do much even during like the most crazy times. For all it's worth, it's currently range bound
Yeah,
between here and pretty much here. Like these are obviously the deviation levels. If you would want to potentially short it up here and you want to potentially long it down here. But it has been a slow mover. It obviously did very well from here to here, but for all I know, this is probably some kind of accumulation range. If it ever actually starts closing over, what is this, 1200 region, like in a sincere way, it's probably going to go higher, but could be a long time before it actually does that. For all intents and purposes, it's range bound and not really something that you want to like potentially enter right now.
the volume's going nuts though.
Yeah, well, this is also Wanda, so I don't know how
Oh
legit that
yeah.
volume is.
I've always that's of all the metals, that's the one I'm actually interested in, just simply because I was gonna. We had a real big green movement, and I wanted the EPA to come cracking down on catalytic converters, and this stuff. There's not a lot of platinum. Period. Like there's not people that just store it like in safes, but it's like there's not a ton of it, and you cannot make emission equipment without it. But
It,
maybe we're going all electric, and my theory's dead.
I was about to say that. Yeah,
Thanks,
it's
Elon.
definitely possible at some point. I also, oh, this is fun. Oh, was this the 10-year? Can't remember what I did it on. Oh, here it is. So I marked this out like a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and I was like, I don't know if TA works on the 10-year, but this is probably a level of interest. And so far it has been. We'll see if we keep going. But we've also seen the dollar start to top a little bit as we enter this region. So here's hoping, because otherwise this is like, I mean, this is on the assumption that TA works on the 10-year, and I'm skeptical that it does. I've never really like paid too much attention to yields, but like that's the first quarterly breakout
Yields
on
are
this
nuts right
thing.
now. Like the 2 year, like the Japanese yields. I know that was all over crypto Twitter, what, a month ago, which actually feels like 10 years ago at this point. After this week, but
Yeah, this can't continue because if people start paying 9, 10, or higher yields, things really are going to get kind of weird. Like
Arthur mentioned
we're
that.
we are in weird times right now.
Arthur mentioned that because the yields are going to get to the point where like if the he's like as much as I don't like Arthur Hayes, he did mention saying like these yields are going to get to the point where there's no incentive to touch anything except just milking the yields.
Yep.
And I was like, that's a good point because the other thing is like I see the yields screaming. I also look at the mortgage rates. The mortgage rates are not sustainable. At least I don't
Oh,
think.
they can go a lot higher.
I know they can, but I don't think the American economy can handle it. Like the we had crazy high mortgage rates back in the day, but the price of the actual assets was not an investment class yet.
Well,
Um,
I mean, since the 1950s, homes have kind of been like a hold it forever and it goes up eventually.
yeah,
And obviously, interest rates have been like going on a downtrend for a very long time. There's still some room for them to like send it higher. I don't think we're going to ever get up to like 17-20% like up in this region like the 70s, but this is definitely like a lot of strength within the mortgage rates. It obviously all depends on the Fed, and we haven't really seen home prices come down yet. I think there's
they're
a ticker
starting to
for.
turn. The mortgage applications have actually turned, and it
There we go.
looks like we might have a price. Is that the median home?
This is the single family home. I don't know if it's average or median, but
Same, close enough.
obviously it's been literally up only since like the 2008 bottom. I mean,
Wow, it has a
we
seasonal top every year, does it not?
I guess so. But
It's like the chicken broilers charts.
so far sellers are still like holding out for higher prices, and there some of them are starting to break, but
I think there's also
uh,
people
unt-
that don't want to sell a house and then open up a new mortgage at 7%.
correct. And then there's all these like BlackRock and whatnot that
Whew.
uh,
Yeah.
that keep buying up all the inventory. I don't know if they're still going as hard as they were, but there's a consistent institutional bid in the market, which is something that we never saw like
Ever.
in 2008 or other places.
No,
But
I
who knows? I'm not a super expert on real estate. I'm not the guy to ask about it.
I'm not either, but I did take note of the news when BlackRock bought an entire um, community. I don't know if you saw that, but in Texas, BlackRock came in and bought every single house in a neighborhood. It was a newly developed. They were going to be making new homes in this thing. BlackRock came in, bought every single house, and I
Sounds
was
about
like,
right.
okay. The other thing too is I'm my wife wants to keeps looking at houses and stuff. I was like, we're not doing this during a bubble. We're not doing this during these rates. But I was like, I also warned her. I was like, well, whenever we are back in the market, like we're not buying a house built between 2021 and 2023. Like
Absolutely.
these
The
things are
materials were
hobbled
absolute
together.
shit.
Yeah,
Dude, I went to fucking IKEA during like the tail end of the pandemic, and I was like, why does everything look like it's made from like cardboard? And it was the cost of living or the cost of inflation, and they were using cheaper materials, and I'm just like, I'm not buying. I literally bought nothing at IKEA for the first time ever. Like I was just trying to like get like a coffee table and like a dresser. Like and I was like, this all looks like garbage.
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's.
It's sign of the times.
I remember there was. I remember seeing Craigslist ads where people had like sheets of plywood, and they're like, "I know what I've got. Willing to trade it for a 2020 F250." It's
I should
like
have sold my car during 2021. Like that was absolutely nonsense.
it's the only time in recorded history where cars appreciated used. Like
Yeah,
it's
looking
insane.
back.
I had a friend who bought a Nissan GTR. He's had it for 2 years, and he sold it for 20, 30 grand profit. I was like, you'll never do this again. Like it's not like you. You don't buy Ferraris and like make money, and like we had this weird freaking window with the pandemic, and it's just like, and that's what blows my mind. Like if you go look at like the Ford stock, Ford and GM, their stocks are absolutely tanking, and Ford is not even accepting orders. Like they're like we've got too many orders and we don't have parts, and it's they recently did bounce, yeah, but like
No,
they
that's
can't.
that's JPM. I was just looking at
JP,
them. Sorry.
yeah, Ford did bounce, but they man, they were nuking for a long time, and I was like, man, I want a Bronco so bad, but you can't get them. They don't have computer chips, and if China invades Taiwan, like it's gonna get real gnarly because that's like the number one semiconductor manufacturer in the world. And I was like, we're
And
just not.
that was a great short in hindsight. Like I never really looked at Ford, but like that would have been like insta sell for me. Just that candle on its own.
Swing fail.
Yep. And retesting of distribution. This is obviously a distribution range here.
Yeah, yeah.
Up, down, and no volume whatsoever. Like there was nothing to carry that through. But it's such a old historical level that I would have, if I had seen this, I would have shorted that. But I was just curious looking at it. They had a great 2020,
Yeah.
obviously, and 2021, I guess.
What do you think of time frames? Like, what are your go tos?
So it depends if I'm like day trading or like looking for investment opportunities. If I'm day trading, I'm typically going to be looking at like 4 hours daily. But like for things that like I want to buy and hold on to for a decade, like AT&T, like I bought this dip hard. I tend to go look out at 3 quarter or sorry 3 month, which is quarterly chart, or monthly charts, just because the support and resistance areas are so much cleaner. Generally speaking, but if I'm here's Disney, for example, like this would be the level it needs to hold. But if I'm just like trying to like go in and out, I tend to look at 4 hours, 12 hours, one day, 1 week. It really depends on the asset and the time frame for the investment.
Do you do you pay attention to the earnings reports?
Not really. I my dad makes fun of me for it all the time, but I don't know how to read a balance sheet. No, I'm a lines on charts kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I just look for value areas and I stick to it from there. Like that's really all it is. And I can always go read some analysis somewhere that's like, yeah, so ATT's making no money. Probably time to sell. And I can maybe look into it a little deeper from there. But I'm always just like a lines and boxes on charts kind of fella.
That's cool. No, it's a good point, and it's something I try to like tell people like when people like start asking me and they're like, "Am I doing this right?" And I just flat out tell them like, if you're making profits and you can do it again, like you're repeating it, like don't ask me shit. Like you've cracked a code and you can, even if everybody tells you wrong, but you've got to read, keep the read. Like even if it sounds goofy, you know, do your thing.
Did I show you this?
You had it up earlier. That's
Yeah.
super clean.
So I basically like accidentally created a model for kind of valuing Bitcoin. And all it is this is the VWAP from the base, like the first listing candle on the index, because we don't have price history from beyond that. Then I threw a zero point 0.4 STD and a 6 STD. And basically, I mean, it's pretty clear. Like I'm guessing that this is going to be our bottom, like 12 to 13K, somewhere in there. If the model holds, we'll see if it is. We are obviously living in weird times right now. But I'm excited to see if this holds up or not,
That's what
because
I've
I
been
don't
warning people.
I don't I don't think anyone's done this before.
I think we're close. No, this is super clean, and it's not like something you've adjusted every
Well,
week.
I did.
It's
I
hold.
adjusted it uh, to fit as many of the bottoms as possible, and
Yeah,
it
but
fit four of them.
what I'm implying is you don't adjust it every week to make it look good. This actually looks like it
No.
holds, and you're done.
Yep.
Um, I'm just worried is if we do have. So I've been telling people they're like, "Is this a good time to buy?" I'm like, I was like, "You're near a bottom, but with a one caveat is if we lose like 3,800 or so on the S&P and we nuke down to 3K. Uh, don't think we're gonna have $20,000 bitcoins with a 3,000 S&P. Like
Yeah.
that's
No
not in the
kidding.
cards. No, that's super clean, and I'm definitely gonna try to take the time to do a dime toolkit write up because that's like people like they ask it, they mention you and they do some of your videos and stuff like that. Even you were giving me crap and you're like, no, you're faking it, and I was like, dude, where do you think I found a Vimeo link?
That's funny. It's
Um,
actually the only place that video exists, as far as I know, except for Trendspider or not Trendspider. Cheddar. It's in Cheddarflow's Education Center, but not really anywhere else.
that's cool. Overall though, like besides the memeing and stuff, like what are your actual like go-to favorite assets to trade? Like everyone typically like I'm real goofy and like I post a lot of Zcash charts, but I didn't choose Zcash, but Zcash chose me and like it's really easy for me to read it. What are your like
Um,
go-to unashamed ones?
ES is really the only thing I trade these days, and I do it with SPY. Sometimes I'll do ES itself or micro ES. Sometimes I'll trade NQ, but I have a really good solid relationship with ES. Like I get the price action most of the time, except for this last year or so. Like I can say move for move like typically where it's gonna go. I'm probably like at a 70% accuracy rate. I like to think, but it ultimately is it's a solid asset. It has good liquidity, and the options market makes it very tantalizing to trade it.
So what would you say is your percentage of your trades are like spot ES versus option trading ES?
Right now, these days, most of my trades are options, mostly because there's greater volatility in them, and I can't tell you how many times I've woken up like to a wick like this. Like I nailed this high here, which was actually the yearly point of control. This is cool. I was pretty proud of this.
Wow.
So this was higher up when it was over there, but basically I said we are going to wick this, and if I had been an ES, my short would have gotten taken like right there. Sorry, my short stop would have been taken right there because this happened at like 7 in the morning or so, probably a little earlier. Um, and with options, like you can risk relatively little to get more gains, but your timing has to be optimal. So I shorted instead like here, like the day before, and we followed it. So
That's
options, it's really about what your hours are around the market. I'm not good at waking up early, but if I think the market is going to go down, then options are easier because I don't have to worry about the stop loss. getting hit overnight. If you fuck up an option trade, it's like, oh no, you lost $1,000 or you lost 2,000 or whatever size you're trading with. If you fuck up a futures trade, that can hurt.
Yes, that's the thing. I always have to like show people the math, and they're like, "How much lower can it go?" And I'm like, "The answer is always 100% of your portfolio." So you can 2 or 3 clicks away everything away overnight, because you can build up. Literally, it's like you could be the best trader in the world, do 10,000% P&L in 2 years. You degen it away on one option or one leverage trade. It's a single stroke of 100%. You're back to zero, and it's like,
or or forget one stop loss.
yeah,
It's just like they're if you're actively trading and awake and there for it, or you're deep in profit, then who cares? But um, if you're actively entering and it's highly volatile, weird times, then generally suggest that people stick to options as long as you are buying enough time premium and you have the conviction to hold them to whatever your target is, then go for it. Like when I bought these lottos over here, like I knew that it was going to be a volatile move no matter what, but the puts would have covered me for I think I spent like $200 a contract on these. And if the calls got nuked, then the puts would obviously outperform and vice versa. And I had a little bit of wiggle room since my entry was up here, but ultimately it worked out. It's really just a matter of like what you prefer. And if you have like a larger account, you can obviously like sell options as well. Like you selling puts like down here would have been profitable. Worst case scenario, you get assigned for 100 shares. But people have been selling calls all year and just using the premium to average down. It works for some people, not for everyone, but works for some people.
that's awesome. That's cool. Um, so you don't do a lot of trading with crypto then?
Not lately. Have you seen crypto? Are you kidding me? It's bit, like I'm not good at being a bear. Like I'll be cards on the table. I'm
It
not
feels
good
so
at it.
good to hit the green button.
It feels good to hit the green button. And like even like from like 2018 to 2019, I kind of like was like, I don't really like trading crypto. It's only good to trade like once in a while. Like if we get to a point where it's like, where can I see it? I forget some of these charts don't have everything. Bitstamp? Oh, this is Coinbase. Like this is great. I traded this. Consistent trend. Awesome. And once we started getting out of here, like it was kind of like, I don't really want to trade this. I think I shorted the COVID
Fuck,
top.
that was an awesome trade if you shorted that. I bought the bottom of the COVID,
I
but
think
I
I
didn't short it.
closed. I think I closed it a little early, and then I stayed up overnight while the COVID stuff was going on. And I think right about here, I was like, you know what, 50x short, fuck it. I don't have any fucking idea. And I think I made like a full Bitcoin on that trade. I was like,
Wow.
all right, that was great. But it was kind of degen. I was just kind of like, this is definitely going to roll over. Like, I don't have any rhyme or reason for it, but that's what it says deep in my gut. And I just market shorted, which isn't something I normally do. And it just, the floor fell out of it.
It's much
And I
harder.
was I was so bearish like for this entire up move. Like I was like trying to short every down move here, and ultimately it was bad idea. Like it was just not a smart thing. And then once we like kind of started making this formation and breaking out here, I was kind of like, okay, this might have legs. All right, I guess we're doing this, and then up only happened, and we're here today. We all know how that ended up.
Yeah, I remember the night. It was a Thursday when COVID hit. Um, not the COVID hit, but the COVID Black Swan event. And for whatever reason, this is kind of like what spawned Rainbow Theory is like. I'm in my comfort zone in Black Swans. That's where it becomes very very easy for me to see bottoms, and I can't trade chop. I can trade the hell out of volatility. I can't short parabolic moves very well, but buying the dips on the absolute like lights out, that was the most lights out thing I'd ever seen and saw the floor on the rainbow stuff pain. And I remember literally like talking with the wife, like, how what do we have in the bank accounts? Like, it's going in tonight, and I had really really regrets because it happened on a Thursday night, and my paycheck was coming in on a Friday, and I didn't want to over withdraw on Coinbase and have them like lock my accounts, and I missed quite a few Bitcoin that I could have bought under $4,000. I really regret that. In
So
hindsight, I should have just overdrafted on Coinbase and fixed it, but
it's fine. You made it. You got some money out of it.
yeah,
Um, but I this wasn't my idea at the time. Someone else posted. I want to say maybe Crypto ISO. I can't remember. It was one
he's
of
so
those
good.
fellow fellow price action guys. I remember like seeing this get posted, and I was kind of like not 100% convinced of it, but like I want to like drive home the point that like one single positive weekly SR flip can be the difference. Like you could have sold here and ignored Bitcoin for 3 years. And if you just like aped in on that successful back test of two levels that have been failed before, and you would have done 600%, you would have been thrilled.
Hmm.
Um, it it's just mind boggling to me, like especially when you zoom out to the weekly, like how clean things can be. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try to look for something as clean as this during our next cycle. We probably have another all of this to do it all over again. Just this whole mess over here. Um, but we'll see what happens. It's probably not going to be good times for a while.
What is your outlook for the next 6 months? Then I'd say 24 months.
All FTX leaving the market obviously creates a massive liquidity void, not to mention the fact that all the people that were waiting to buy the dip, even if they sold the rip and got out even like at 40K, even
They
if
don't
they
have
got
the
out
option to
here,
buy.
they don't have the option to buy. That like we've bankrupted, like we've reduced the buying power of the space significantly. Like there's tons of people. We don't even know the full extent of the damage. I doubt 10 billion is the max that they've lost. But we still don't have a fucking idea what's going on with FTX. Ultimately, I think we're probably going to mark down a little bit more. Let's see, do I have the chart? This is my macro chart that I shared. I kind of looked at quarterly candles, and I said last month at the start of the quarter, I was like, this is the first time we've ever closed below a prior all-time high on the quarterly basis, and that ended up being spot on so far. So just looking at like the quarterly levels, somewhere between the 2019 highest quarterly close and the previous highest quarterly close, I think is probably where we're going to bottom. I mean, it's not going to be this nice parabolic straight line here, but it's probably going to be a bit of chop over the next couple of years. But somewhere between 10 and 13K is seems like a valid place for us to bottom. But that's my thought, and I'm wrong. I've been wrong so much this year on crypto. Like I honestly thought we were going to go to 100K. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't. Like
So
because
that's a
our
lot. That's
hmm?
that's a lot of data. I think a lot of people ignore the parabolic run we did to 13.2 after the 3300 bottom in 2018. People completely ignore that one, but that one in the middle ran hard and it blew off top and came back down, and then we started a run up to the 69K or whatever it was. So if we lose the 20K level, which we have, um, the next, as far as like marking key pivotal points per like Rainbow Theory, the 13.2 top is the next technical level if you want to go that far. But I want to be bullish. I
I
really
don't think
do, because I like if you would have told if you would have called Rainbow Runner a month ago with a time machine and told me about all this shit that's about to go down this week, first off, I wouldn't believe you. Even if I believed in time travel, I would say there's no fucking way. Like, I know Alameda's dirty, but I was like, there's no way they're going to get hacked and then they're going to install Trojans on everybody's device. Like, that type of stuff, no way. Um, I would have told you Bitcoin would have gone under 10K. That was that bit. Like, this is worse than Gox. This is worse than Ether Delta. This is worse than Hey Hey Hey, all the
yeah.
BitConnect, all that, like, combined, and we're at 16, 17,000. Like, I don't. I'm really. Uh, the only thing I can think of is you want to hit a 13K, you got to take down Coinbase. Like, Armstrong has to be tied up in some way to lose Coinbase. Is the only
Yep.
way I could think you could do it, or if somehow Binance goes down. I don't
There
know.
Coinbase is so heavily regulated. I'm not really worried about them going out of business. Something really bad would have to happen.
I'm
But
not, but
ultimately,
man,
like anything can happen. Like keep your coins to yourself. Like that's the only solution at this point.
I mean, it's like
Um,
when they were talking to FTX, because I wanted to know is like how big is the hole? I was like, were they like? I know there was a hole, but like, how bad was it? And it's looking like at a minimum they were 10x leveraged. Like, holy cow! I
ultimately, like from a price action perspective, I just think that we're probably going to melt this gap here. Just whenever the market paints charts like this, where it just up, 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 the I think people call it an inefficiency, and it's basically guaranteed to get filled at some point. And ultimately, we have no real support until here. Like that's really the brutal reality of it. The news and blah 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 everything else that's happening is just the narrative. The price action will ultimately tell you usually what's going to happen next.
the other thing
That's
is
my belief at least.
I think we won't hit 13K like what you're saying is if we do get the midterm rally. Got to remember, midterms are still going on right now.
Well, yeah, for stocks, but obviously the correlation's gone at this point, and FTX has deleted a ton of market participants. Like the only people left to buy are literal institutions who are probably taking the opportunity to gobble up some of this dip up. But this is a mess. Like even if you're long here, it's like, do you really think it's a good idea? I mean, look at the breakdown from last cycle. Like this, it almost looks identical in some ways. Like this could easily go badly for everyone. Let me see if I can. It's a bars pattern. Come on. There we go. I mean, this could easily just keep going down for another little while. The price action looks so similar to me, like compared to the 2018 breakdown. I don't know. I have no idea what happens next, but I think we're at least another year and a half away from any kind of like real pump, or at least until next year.
So I have some thoughts on it, and they're rapidly changing based on Twitter right now. Normally, Contagion, however you say it, takes about 2 weeks. 3AC took 2 weeks to find out how many bodies they took down with them. Luna, same thing, 2 weeks. I was saying the same thing for FTX. I know it's bigger, but I was like, you're gonna like the people that are overexposed to FTX, like businesses. We're gonna find all that out in about 2 weeks. BlockFi, whoever else, Voyager, those typical names, stuff like that. But the fact that now there's a hack involved, um, the liquidators, because you got to remember, like FTX went down, they filed bankruptcy. The first people that are going to get paid are the investors. So say 50% of the money's there. That 50% of the money is going to the investors. If all this legit just got hacked and drained and pulled out of FTX, and the investors get zero, the contagion ripple effects across the industry is going to be months.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, I don't think this is going to get resolved anytime soon. I just think it's not. I mean, you can sugarcoat it, you can say hodl, you can do whatever you want, but ultimately this is a mess. And until we start seeing like actual structure changes like this, like down here with the 2018 accumulation bottom, like obviously something changed here. Like volume, price action, like this was a breakout. I suspect we're going to get something similar because people want to accumulate more Bitcoin before the top. So we're probably going to get another year-long sell-off like this one in 2020 and 2019. I mean, really, it's just we're going to sit and wait. Do you ever use yearly opens?
no,
I want to see something cool.
I do.
Let's see. I think I need to change this to weekly. So on perps it hit, but the COVID bottom was the 2019 yearly open, and the 2019 top was the 2018 yearly open.
What?
I love these. They're fucking great. And then right here we saw the yearly open was our top before the impulse down really started. And during the distribution phase, yearly open right here, was perfect. I mean, it was really just like the Pico bottom. It was literally where we wicked into. Highly, highly shill using them, marking them on your charts. Even the old ones end up being useful at some point.
I'm waiting for you to pull up moon phases because this is spooky.
Moon phases are a little more hit and miss because there's always like the blood moon or whatever, whatever. In up only times, obviously full moons were fucking great, but they're a little bit more nuanced during not so great times like today.
At this point, I don't know what Mars being in retrograde means, and I'm too scared to ask.
I don't fucking care about it. I mean, people like to pretend,
At
or they
this,
like to like people just like having horoscopes for their coins. You know, the same way that they like to have horoscopes for their lives, but they're ultimately meaningless.
I
Um,
saw, recently saw a video. This guy goes into bars, and he walks up to like uh, ladies dressed to the nines, and he starts hitting on them. And they get interested, and then he asks them what their what's their sign, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a zodiac." And he'll go, "A zodiac? Nope." And he just ghosts them and walks away. And you should see these ladies have their jaws hit the fucking floor. It's like, "Oh no, I don't fuck with Capricorns," and he just walks away.
that's so funny.
It's
I'm a
so funny.
Scorpio. I have lost out on dates just because I'm a Scorpio. It's terrible. I hate astrology. I don't
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
Scorpios did to the world, but whichever one of them did it, cut it out.
Uh, Question in the chat, JPS. I do not look at BTC ratios very often at all. Um, I think that was more of a 2017.
What does he mean BTC ratios?
He's asking me if I believe in 0.2024 FBTC by 2024. I will say this: out of all the nukes and stuff, Ethereum's holding pretty damn well, all things considered. It also just flipped deflationary. If you check out the Ultrasound Money app or website, um, it looks like F 2.0 is really deflationary, and I think it's a sleeping giant for the next few years. I think it's going to pull out. And also, I
Oh, really?
think I think a lot of people are going to say, "I'm never touching a centralized exchange again," and they're going to go decentralized, and it's going to run on the back of Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain.
Hopefully
So
Solana survives, but I was enjoying the Solana dethrones Ethereum narrative that was running earlier today. That was or earlier this year. That was awesome, but
your
doesn't seem
post,
to have.
your Solana post about Coin Mamba make me so happy.
Dude, if it goes back to $3, we should just like not tweet for a day just out of respect because it was such an amazing round trip. Like
It,
I,
it
I thought like Solana was like gonna go to like let me pull up the Solana chart. Oh, all right. I deleted all my FTX charts.
oh
Wonder
no,
why. So
are they even updating the ticker still?
I don't think so. I think it was this same yesterday. I think they already canceled all the trades, but like my plan was always like to buy these lows here, and I think it was everyone else's. But obviously, Solana losing its biggest market maker is kind of not great. We could easily end up going through these candles, but
That's what's scary too. Is I don't know how much Alameda had of Solana, but when the books like I knew Alameda was super dirty, but when the books came back and they're like, yeah, they own 80% or something of like FTT, I go, excuse me, 80, it's like 70-80%, like whoa, because I don't know how much they had in Sol, but I can tell you this: there was algorithms on FTX US that pushed that bad boy up, and I used to
yeah,
watch them all the time with Stack CEO Alan Stacked. He would post them up, and I would just sit there and study the books as they'd sit there, and man, they would just ungodly amount of money getting thrown on both sides of the books. And when that algorithm was turned on, price just did that straight greens, and it would run for
yeah,
weeks.
yeah. I mean, I caught a meaty chunk of that whole move, but it got so extensive that I was just like, I don't want to keep trying to trade this. Like this is I'll trade perps, but I'm not gonna
Yeah.
try to like trade this with spot because I don't know what's going on here. And this could top at any time. And one of the theories I read was that Alameda and FTX ran the double bubble on crypto specifically so they could finish offloading Solana.
Oh,
Like if you look at them side by side, Solana hadn't quite reached its all-time high yet, but Bitcoin was kind of threatening to. Oh, I'm already on Solana, so yeah, pretty much like the. I think this was close to the bottom.
She was
I have
in
to look
top
at.
10, wasn't she?
Yeah, so Solana topped here during the double bubble, and then everything went to hell.
To your point,
I've seen some.
JPS in the chat. Sorry. If you can knock out BTC ratios, go for it. It's not something I personally do, so I can't speak to it too well. I know Kuji
I
on
have
Twitter
no
does it.
idea what a BTC ratio is. I don't know.
They look at the ratio of, instead of looking at like Ethereum on a USD scale, they look at the value of Ethereum to Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, okay. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Sorry.
I
I
some
have a
people
lot
would
of made
call
up
that.
terms. I studied TA in a bubble,
That's
so I say a
fine.
lot of
We
dumb
all kind of
stuff.
did. Check out. I'm gonna delete it in a second, but check out this VWAP I hit from the 2017 bottom. Bam, perfect. I mean, kind of random that I had it on the chart, but it worked.
It's
Um,
crazy.
ultimately, FBTC is. I don't know what it's doing here. Like, first of all, I'm looking at Bittrex because it has the most price history, but this could be distribution for all I know. I don't know. Um, I really don't have a great feel for FBTC. It's range bound. It's going to move one direction or another. If Bitcoin chads at some point, like it's
Bow to the king.
probably bow to the king. For all we know, it's going to come down here at some point. This was the what was it? Was it over here? This was not the top, but Bitcoin was pretty much in charge here. And then once we got here, Ethereum really started to chat. Ethereum's not my asset of choice to trade. I don't really look at it that much. I don't understand the fundamentals. I don't understand anything about it.
It's
I,
wild.
I don't think I really made any money off Ethereum during the up only. I mostly focused on Bitcoin and Solana this time around.
I'm a big F guy, and it's a good number two. Is it better than Bitcoin? No. Is
It,
it?
it offers larger percentage gains. I think the term is higher beta, but it has its value during the best of times. The
Yeah.
FBTC chart basically is kind of telling you usually which one is overvalued and which one is
Yeah.
undervalued, but it's kind of been a little bit different since the last bull run. I mean, I wouldn't be swapping Bitcoin for ETH up here, but whatever you wanted, or I guess the other way around. It's not really my scene. It's not really my specialty.
That's interesting, and I think it's the other thing people need to consider is like we don't have a lot of data on F 2.0 charts. It's like she is different. Like it's gonna paint differently, and just we haven't really seen what that's gonna look like. And hell, we're going through a lot of never been done befores now anyway. But
No, it's just trading crypto right now. Like I'm probably saying this at the bottom, but trading crypto right now is there's just so many unknowns right now. I mean, literally, Alameda could like have a stress related stroke tomorrow. Not Alameda, Sam could have a stress related stroke tomorrow, and the market could like pump in celebration. I don't fucking know what's gonna happen.
I've been
But there's
theorizing that
so
as
much.
well. Is we're
There's so many more downside vectors than upside vectors right now, and the chart is not in any sense bullish. I mean,
no.
we need more data ultimately at this point.
It's one of those ones where it's like I think for sure you can say we're in a bottom, but the problem is like you it's real easy to go down another 50% and then print the real bottom. Like you can, it pays you it's in a bear market you need it pays off to be a patient bull. In a bull market, you cannot be you can't be a patient bull. You have to go. You can't just sit there and watch price move up. But when it's bear market time, stay steady. Like all these people are trying to front run Jerome Powell on trying to pivot, and I'm like, why the fuck are you guys longing CPI prints and FOMC meetings? Like, I was like, he's gonna pivot one day. That's gonna happen for sure. Is it this week? Is it next year? We don't
Is
really
it
know yet. But once he
it
pivots, you got like another 9 months to DCA in to
yeah,
really hit the
and
bottom.
it's ultimately just for Bitcoin in particular just playing the cycle. It's like whatever nuke happens in the 6 months before the halving, you buy that. That's That's
Yeah,
ultimately the path that I think we're going to take. It's not really worth trading it until it actually starts doing something.
I will say this though: the alts are moving in a bear market. We did not see alts move in 2018. Like it was just dead. Coins went sideways and
Um,
nobody touched them.
so after the first markdown from the 2017 high, I remember alt BTC pairs. Everyone was trading those on Bittrex. Some of them were moving, but no one had any idea what they were doing. We were all completely brand new to it. It was hilarious. Um, yeah, it was a different scene now. Obviously, too much leverage in the altcoins probably is why we're in this mess in the first place.
Yeah, I agree on that one. And I remember cutting my teeth back then, and even then, I was like, the data doesn't make sense to me. I can kind of wrap my head around this, but I was like, I didn't have any tools, I didn't have anything, and I was like, this math's kind of hard. Like, am I up? Am I down? And then
Did I lose you? Hello, hello.
but
I think we lost him. Oh, there he is. He came back.
yeah, just give me 1 second. I gotta check on the kid again. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
You guys have any more questions for me? We're probably going to wrap this up pretty soon. I still can't believe Bitto was the literal market top. That's so funny to me. The date and time of the exact bottom is Valentine's Day. I have no reason for that. It just felt like the right thing to say.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Looks like he's out for now. Um, one thing I did want to ask you is who are the top 3 traders you look up to?
Try not to make heroes on Twitter just because it's on a long enough timeline, everyone blows up sometimes, especially like this week, FTX, etc. But I really like Trader SZ. I don't always agree with him, and I like fighting with him on the timeline, but we're good friends. Crypto Ice is another good one. He's very competent with price action trading, and I forget what his new ad is, but Giraffe Trades. He gets suspended once in a while, and he's always been a very talented price action trader. And he doesn't really post charts anymore, but he shares in private, and he was a very smart gentleman. Trying to think who else. Hmm. There's so many really quality smart people, and some of them have protected accounts, and I can't really name them.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
there's always going to be good objective people looking at markets, and you shouldn't have heroes, especially me. Like, um, it's just you need to teach yourself to fish. Ultimately, you can't rely on other people's thoughts, but some people are definitely worth following.
that's awesome. Leads me to another question. A lot of the crypto industry is networking.
Yep.
Um, on a rainy day, you're in a trouble. Who would you recommend or would say has your back you could trust? Like the top, and that goes like a lot of stuff. Like people are finding out like Sam and them weren't trustworthy, but I always tell people there's like less than like 5 or 10 people I actually trust in this space. I'm curious who would be like your top 5 trusted people in the industry that you like
Um,
actually know. Like I'm a big Barry Silbert fan, but like I've never talked to him.
I've never talked to him either. Ultimately, like, you have to find your own friends. Like, I don't have a list, but it's like situations are always different and evolving. Like, people that I thought there were a lot of people that I thought were my friends throughout the 2018 2019 bear market cycle that ended up being absolute psychopaths. Eventually you'll like whittle down your core friends into a reliable friend circle that's got your back, that'll lend you 5 grand if you need it, like, or get hurt, or like your dog needs to go to the vet or whatever. um there's no right answer to this. It's ultimately you have to find people that are growing in the same way that you're growing, smart, and aren't just shilling you garbage and trying to get you to buy stuff or whatever. Over time, you build relationships. It's the same thing. You really just have to figure out what works for you in terms of friend circles. I don't have anyone to shill specifically. I have my friends and we talk and we've got Discord. My suggestion is to make use of Discord because it's an amazing networking tool. But I don't have an answer for you.
I will say that is not how I expected it to go when I asked that question, but that was a phenomenal answer. Absolutely phenomenal.
Trust no billionaire. No kidding. This week especially.
Trust nobody. Everyone blows up. Also, this is CryptoParadyme's copy trade link on Ether Delta.
I didn't know I have a copy trade link. Oh well, cool. I hope I get paid.
I wonder if that's a thing. Just start making
Me?
like copy trade accounts and be like, oh yeah, this is SC's copy trade account. You need to follow me and pay me a bunch of
Dude,
money.
he has so many bots on his reply pretending to be him. It's ridiculous. But hey, Runner, I need to go here in a second.
Okay, yeah, we can wrap it up. Man, I can't thank you enough. This has been phenomenal. I wish you the best with your job interview that's coming up. I hope to God you're willing to come back. I'm gonna archive this and put it on YouTube. This has been eye opening because this is like I've learned a lot. I'm sitting here taking notes, and I'm probably gonna go back and watch this a few times, and especially play with some of your tools. Would love to have you back. You can chew me
Maybe
out.
not for 2 hours, but like, yeah, sure, I'll come back.
Awesome. I guess we'll just wrap it up. If you know, I can't compare this week in crypto to anything in that's ever happened in the industry, and I know a lot of people are down and out. What would be your advice to them or motivation? What would you like to tell them?
Not your keys, not your coins. Don't put any more than like 10% of your net worth on any exchange, unless you're just passing through. Like that's how people got fucking rolled over. They trusted Sam, and it could have easily been Brian Armstrong, or it could have easily been CZ. Like exchanges have gone bust. Never to this size, but always separate your investment funds from your active trading funds. Just don't put them all in one pot, and stay over. Don't use high leverage unless you know what you're doing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm gonna post your Twitter link in the chat. Like I said, can't thank you enough. I'm gonna work on trying to figure out some trends or some streaming stuff so I can get some charts better up. But appreciate to do the long interview, and we got a lot of the questions and stuff out. Man, I'd be down to do some shorter streams when it gets a little more the dust settles, because right now I'm more interested in chasing down contagion and seeing what this ripple effects are more than charts right now. But awesome, dude. Thank you so much. And everyone else, I'm gonna hop on the Discord if you guys want to chat, and I'm gonna shut the stream down. We can raid somebody if you want. Let me pull that up actually.